Welcome to Barebones Camera, where we share the ins and outs of cinematography, breaking down real setups and taking you behind the scenes on professional film shoots. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Kine Affinity. In this and the next episodes, we'll check out the on-set life of key members of a professional production crew. Today, we'll talk a little about props in film production. The word prop comes from theatrical property and refers to any object used on theater stage or in a film production. In general, good props can greatly contribute to a movie's authenticity. At the same time, bad props can make movies look cheap and throw the audience off from the story. Some movie props are so memorable that they become part of pop culture or even find their way into our language. Props can be designed to stand out of the image and catch the viewer's attention, or at the contrary, they blend in to the rest of the decor seamlessly to create an authentic environment. They can be extravagant or very subtle. No matter what great prop you see in any given movie, they all have one thing in common. At the end of the day, somebody either made, rented, or purchased these items. If you can afford it, you'll just get the real thing, or have a professional set designer make it for you. For big productions, this is generally not an issue, like the genuine World War II Enigma machine in The Imitation Game costing over $100,000 to buy or several $1,000s to rent, or the hundreds of pages of Jack's manuscript in The Shining, which must have taken some poor assistant several days to complete. Or like the movie Goodbye Lenin, where they had to furnish an entire apartment with Soviet-era Berlin furniture and objects, 14 years after the fall of the wall. On a side note on renting props, here in Berlin there is a warehouse filled with furniture and objects from various eras just waiting for some movie to be in need of exactly that kind of piece. It gets more interesting when you're a bit on a budget, where you try to spend only the bare minimum of time and money on props in relation to their importance and appearance on screen. As an example, in the original Star Wars movie, the lightsaber was made of a handle from an old camera flashlight with some buttons glued to it. In Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, they used uniforms made of paper for the extras that were far away from the camera. Or how about the plastic bag scene from the movie American Beauty? As far as cheap props are concerned, it can't get any better than that. On that same note, I'd like to share some examples from a low-budget production for a cinematic sketch comedy show of which we made the making of recently. The props list was quite substantial, given the available time and budget for this project. The majority of items could be found on flea markets, second-hand stores, or purchased new on Amazon. Some items, however, needed to be made, either because the real thing would have been too expensive, too hard to find, or just plain overkill. In fact, the art of the resourceful prop maker is to decide which items to buy, which to rent, and which to make. The time you invest on making an item may cost more than just buying or renting the item, and vice versa. Now, let's have a look at a few examples of props that were made for this project. First up, leather sandals and Roman togas. One of the comedy sketches is set in ancient Roman times. The dress code was toga and leather sandals. The togas were pretty straightforward to make. Just a simple white tablecloth with the right proportions, worn in the proper way, and it's done. For the leather sandals, they simply used cardboard for the soles and strips of brown cloth to act as the leather straps typical of ancient Roman sandals. Since there were no close-ups of the feet, this was totally sufficient. For another sketch, they needed to make a custom board game. For this, the team took a regular Monopoly game and modified it with printed paper and drawings. Admittedly, this was more of a last-minute solution, but it turned out good enough given the time and budget limitations of this project. As figurines, they used car emblems as required by the script. Those were purchased new on eBay. In our final example, we'll take a look at a few 3D printed props that were done for this project. In one of the sketches, there was supposed to be a scene of a drawer filled with all kinds of weapons and ammunitions. In the US, items such as hand grenades, ammunition, brass knuckles are probably more easy to get a hold of. But here in Germany, it's close to impossible to get any of these, so the team decided to 3D print them. 3D prints can be found of pretty much any object one can think of. The printed items can then be primed and colorized to make them look almost real. Now that's it for our video today. Keep an eye out for more on this shoot in this video series. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy shooting!